WRAL Live Center, keeping my eye on the situation unfolding in Syria. What you're seeing is video that came into the Live Center overnight of people looting the former offices of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who you'll recall has since been overthrown by that Syrian rebel group there. But in terms of what else has happened, I can just give you kind of an update that I put up here in this presentation. Israeli forces were seen at the Syria buffer zone there. That's because of Israel's prime minister directing that action after the rebels took over Damascus. The Israeli military strikes were suspected on chemical weapon sites, and they again talked about that this morning, the prime minister exactly. Rebels have also taken over Damascus, as I mentioned, and we know that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was given asylum in Russia. In terms of what that buffer zone looks like this morning, I'll bring that to you coming up at 6:30 here in the WRAL Live Center.
Across the world, Syrian communities are celebrating the overthrow of al-Assad, some of them here in Raleigh. Members of the Triangle Syrian community gathered yesterday in Moore Square to celebrate the monumental event. Cars paraded through the streets with Syrian flags waving. One man we spoke with once lived in Syria and joined the celebration in Moore Square.
So it's a historic moment. People are crying, people rejoicing. This is really a historic day.
His personal connection to the conflict runs deep. He has family still in Syria, including a brother who was once imprisoned. As Syria embarks on a new chapter, the world watches closely for what's next. President Biden says he will send senior officials to speak with the region's leaders in the coming days.
President Biden is calling the fall of the Assad regime in Syria a historic opportunity. Rebels captured the capital of Damascus yesterday after a quick incursion over the past week. Chris Pallone reports it brings a decade-long civil war to an end.
As celebrations continue in Damascus, there's cautious optimism in Washington.
It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria.
President Biden speaking at the White House Sunday, pledging U.S. support to help bring stability to the country, which had suffered under the Assad dictatorship for more than 50 years, until rebel groups captured Damascus over the weekend.
This is the best opportunity in generations for Syrians to forge their own future.
The U.S. struck 75 ISIS targets in Syria after the regime collapsed, trying to prevent the terrorist organization from filling the newly created power vacuum. About 900 American troops will remain to help with that.
To keep the pressure on ISIS and to deny them the ability to easily resurge.
The president acknowledging for the Syrian people who have suffered through a decades-long civil war, nothing is guaranteed.
Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses.
After Assad's fall, President-elect Trump said on social media that Russia, which had protected Assad, lost interest in Syria because of its invasion of Ukraine. Mr. Trump has not said how he will handle the crisis, but allies promise a different approach.
When President Trump comes into office, we're going to see a complete sea change.
The U.S. presidential transition is just 6 weeks away and will come amid increasing instability in the Middle East.
That was Chris Pallone reporting. The family of American journalist Austin Tice, who was kidnapped in Syria more than a decade ago, said they are optimistic he will now be able to return home. Sunday, President Biden reiterated his commitment to finding Tice and reuniting him with his family.